In this video, I'm going to give a brief demonstration of my data entry software that I created using Python. I developed this independently out of a need to save time and make our data entry process more efficient. This independently developed solution streamlined a cumbersome process, reducing the time for report generation from as long as 10 hours to just 3 hours, and in the case of smaller reports, from 4.5 hours to a mere 20 to 30 minutes. Now, this particular piece of software is what I'd refer to as a service level script. There's two other scripts that work in sequence with this one, and if you're on the Python programming section right now, you'll find those two videos below this one. So let's get started. So I want to give you a quick summary of what this process was like before I developed this software. It's pretty straightforward. Essentially, we would have these handwritten reports looking something like this come in, and then we would have to fill that information into an Excel spreadsheet that looked like this. Now, the original process for completing these reports was taking this handwritten report, putting it on a clipboard, and then having to manually look up and down multiple times from the physical piece of paper to the actual Excel spreadsheet. So essentially what you had was 3 points of contact for a person's eyes. They would have to look at the physical piece of paper, look at the spreadsheet, and then depending on how good their typing skills were, they would have to look down at the keyboard. But by using this software, we eliminate the back and forth between the spreadsheet and the hard copy report, allowing the user to keep their eye on a single window with the occasional glance at the keyboard, depending on their typing skill. Now, let's see this in action. First, we're going to upload a scanned copy of the report. Now, once we actually upload the PDF document, it's going to take a second to load because the software needs to convert the PDF pages into images so that each region of interest can be displayed more easily. Once the PDF has been fully uploaded, we get an indication label here at the top right corner of the window. Once this appears, it gives us the signal to let us know that we can upload our template file, which is going to be in the JSON file format. We'll go over this in a bit more detail in another video. But essentially, a separate JSON file has to be created for each type of document that a report is on, meaning the actual design of the physical document, and whether or not each page of the report holds 50 rows of data or 25 rows of data. There's a few other details that these JSON files need to encapsulate, but we'll go over those in a later video. Next, we have our calibration window. Because documents can often be skewed ever so slightly when they're scanned, this feature allows us to make sure that everything is in proper alignment. Now, once that's been properly aligned, we're going to have our page count ROI displayed. This allows the user to enter the page number that they see, which will be saved as a variable so that the software can properly keep track of all the data that's entered. This will be crucial for when the software actually inserts the data into the Excel document. Now, at this point, the process is as simple as entering the data that the user sees, pressing the Enter key, and repeating the process until the end of the document. For this demonstration, I'm only going to do a couple of rows from the first 2 pages, just to demonstrate the software's ability to enter the data. Now, as long as the entry widget is empty, pressing or holding the Enter key will cycle through the ROIs. This comes in handy when any columns are intentionally left blank. Now, you'll notice that every time data is submitted into the entry widget, a chunk of data appears in the command prompt. You'll notice that the labels have a specific type of prefix, such as UT and serial, and then they're also followed by 2 numbers separated by underscores. The first number indicates the row, and the second number indicates the page number that the row is on. These 2 numbers are used in a calculation within the code to indicate where the data should go in the Excel spreadsheet. The values Excel cell and Excel cell 1 will indicate the first cell that this series of data will start on. So if we look at serial _1_1, the exact value will be placed in cell C9. And in the case of serial _2_1, that value will be placed in cell C10. So by using the row number, the page number, and the beginning Excel cell, we're able to calculate the exact location that the data should be entered. Now, we'll go over this next aspect in a little bit more detail in the other videos, but to summarize, certain character sets, such as in this example the letter R, will trigger a mechanism that will tell the software, hey, this data needs to go in this column. This is why you saw two distinct Excel cell variables, Excel cell and Excel cell 1. So in the case of box OD41, the presence of box reface is not only going to place the value in BN12, but it's also going to fill a checkbox value in cell R12, which we'll see when we pull up the spreadsheet. And we also have a similar thing happening with this HB, which will also tally a checkbox. And because each of these cells in the handwritten report often have multiple pieces of data, we can enter a series of these trigger keywords separated by a space to store all of those relevant data points for that particular Excel cell. Now we'll just go ahead and cycle through until we get to the next page indicator, and you'll see how we've been stopped with an error message. This is a safety mechanism to make sure we don't skip past it and throw our count off. So I'll go ahead and enter 2, so we got a page count, and I'll just continue to cycle through a couple more of these ROIs, entering a few more pieces of data. This way, when we go to take a look at the Excel sheet after the data has been written, you'll be able to see that it was keeping count. So now all we got to do is go to the File menu, click the Write to Excel option, and here we'll be prompted with a File dialog menu. We'll select the Excel file that we want to write to, decide whether or not we want to use the current data, which is going to be our case, or we could also upload saved data from a previous session. Now this next button, the Write Data button, is where all the magic happens. It's going to take all of our work that we just did, and it's going to write everything to the Excel file within a matter of milliseconds. And as you'll be able to see, all of the data has been successfully written to the Excel spreadsheet. So to summarize this project, this was my first Python script I ever developed, and I was able to develop it independently at the ground level, which means I had to create a system within the parameters of what I had access to. I had no control over the high-level aspects of the system itself. I was limited to being able to manipulate a few columns within the Excel spreadsheet, and I was able to accomplish this within a 2-month window while still maintaining my other responsibilities. As of July 2023, I am currently in the process of implementing machine learning, where this software will provide training data, which will ultimately automate this process completely.